After playing Battlefield games for all these years, it comes down to this. Battlefield 1 is going to get released in about a month or so. It's going to be out. It's the next game that you're probably going to be playing for the next year or two until the next game in the franchise is going to come out. But here's a couple of things that I didn't find quite agreeable in this beta, and hopefully it will change before the game's going to get released. Now keep in mind that I'm not going to base the whole feedback on just the one map. I did play back in the alpha, and if you remember back in Battlefield 3 we had that god-awful map which was Operation Metro, and that was just really bad, but that game turned out to be an awesome game. So we're not going to base this just off of that one map, but what we're going to do is I'm going to give as much feedback as I can to what the game should be like when it's going to get released. And let's begin with the most quintessential game mode for Battlefield, which is Conquest. Conquest has been changed now. No longer do your tickets count. No longer are you required to kill somebody. Now, this is an FPS game where in first-person shooters you do go about shooting people, but shooting somebody doesn't really affect the game anymore. You know, you can just go ahead and cap the flag, and that's that, and that's pretty much it. You can win the game just by capping the flags. Now, in previous Battlefield games, you had the option of killing somebody, but giving your tickets back. If you had a medic, and the medic would come back and revive you, you'd get your ticket back, which is your life. Once you got that, you can have a chance to turn the match around. Now, that doesn't really make a difference anymore because he doesn't have tickets anymore. It simply doesn't make sense to me why, after all these years, since 2002, since the first game come out, you'd go about changing Conquest. Conquest is that game mode that people love to play. They have their own strategy, and with the right strategy and the right team, you can win or turn matches around. All of a sudden, that's not valid anymore. You'll just go ahead and have a timer, and then that's that. It makes absolutely no sense why you would change that. You can't really have a good Battlefield game without mentioning a good game of Rush. Rush is, again, quintessential Battlefield, and you need to have a good game of Rush from time to time with you and your buddies. Now, all of a sudden, Rush has been completely changed from a 64-man server to a 24. Now, I don't understand why in a Battlefield game you can play, you're forced to play 12 versus 12. I played 12 versus 12 on my PS1 in 2001 or whatever it was back in those days. There is just no need for you to have a 12 versus 12 matchup in Battlefield 1. If you wanted the option to give the people a taste of what Rush is all about, you could have had the 64-man, but you also have the option of 24 or 48 or 32 or whatever, but it's there for them to try out. It's just that simple. Now, not only that Rush is no longer a 64-man affair, all of a sudden you've decided that Rush is no longer what Rush should be, but all of a sudden there's a timer in there. Now, that's completely going to mess up the strategy. Why? Because you can't have a 10-minute timer to a Rush mode where tickets do count. Tickets count. You have 75, 100 tickets. Once you take out the first and the second MCOM, your tickets will get reset, and then you'd push up forward to the next objective. Now, all of a sudden, you don't have that anymore. You are forced with a timer. Now, if within the 10-minute limit, you don't arm and destroy the MCOMs, you've lost. Now, if you do take your time and you look after your tickets and you don't want to die, and you actually have a strategy and you have your buddies trying to spawn on you and your teammates and your squad mates, and you do take your time and look after your tickets, you lose because you don't have enough time. And not only that you don't have enough time, you won't actually have a squad. Because you're only playing 12 versus 12, you're going to have squads of 5 in Battlefield 1, and then you're going to have 2 other guys just roaming around doing nothing because they can't really get into a full squad. Now let's talk about the classes a little bit and about the balance that you have in Battlefield 1. Everybody knows that if you wanted to do fairly well on the field, you'd go ahead and choose the right class that you wanted to play, and the right class that you wanted to play was the Assault. A couple of days later, you'd play as a sniper because there'd be no point for you to play as a support, or there'd be no point for you to play as a medic. Sure, you could argue that if I play as a medic, I can heal myself, I can revive, I can get a few more points, but I wouldn't really make a difference to the match because, as I said, tickets don't really count anymore. So I could still play as a medic, still be able to look after myself and my own team or my squad, but there would be no point really, and I would never have a chance against somebody like an Assault. Now, snipers. Snipers, again, there's just too many of them on the field. Sniping is just too easy. There's virtually anybody that's played a Battlefield game before, and you know there's bullet drop in Battlefield games, and you needed to take your time, you needed to adjust for bullet drop and so many other things that you needed to do when playing as a sniper. Now, all of that is out the window because it doesn't matter anymore. There is virtually no bullet drop. All you have to do is just point it at him, shoot, and hopefully you'll get the kill. And that's pretty much it. If you don't get it first time, never mind, aim again, and it's still going to be in the same spot. You don't have to adjust for nothing, just shoot again. The snipers are just simply too fast. The reloading's too fast, and I don't really see how this can really get balanced on the official servers. While on the private servers you can, because you can limit the snipers, you can have a certain number of them, and you can't spawn as a sniper anymore. On the official servers, you will not be able to balance this whatsoever. The skill gap out of playing a sniper is completely gone. You don't have to adjust for anything. You don't have to have any prior training as a sniper or anything like that. You can just come in, you see somebody, point at his head, and you will hit him in his head. It's just that simple. Sniping has just become one of those things that if you're not doing well while you're playing the game, just go ahead and spawn in as a sniper, stay on top of that mountain, and you're going to go 20-3 or something like that, and then that's that. You'll be happy. Some other problems that I had in Battlefield 1 beta is the gadgets. So a lot of the gadgets required to do certain things before you could actually fire it, therefore putting you at a disadvantage. If you're playing as the assault and you wanted to use the AT weapon versus a tank, you needed to lay down, you needed to have some sort of ledge, you needed to get prone before you actually get a shot out. Get a shot, reload, do it again and again. Now, I simply don't have enough time for me to do all that because a tank, all he has to do is turn around once, shoot me in the face once, and that's it, I'm done. Another thing that bothered me was the dynamite. The dynamite not having the sticky technology and the dynamite exploding one charge at a time. If I've managed to somehow sneak up on a tank and he can't see me in third person, then I should be able to put 3 sticks of dynamite down and I should be able to take down a tank myself. In previous Battlefield games, usually took 2. Maybe sometimes it took 3 sticks of C4, but usually within 2 sticks of C4, I would have your tank killed. Now this time around, I have to go, throw everything down, move away, and then blow up all the charges individually for me to take him out. It just simply takes too long, and by the time I've done all that, I should be easily killed by somebody in a tank. Now let's talk about flying a little bit. Flying is definitely fun. You know, it's been a while since we've been playing Battlefield games and everything in Battlefield has been lock-ons and this and that, and it's quite a relief and it's refreshing for you to actually go in and just have a good old dogfight with somebody else. The problem is, you as a soldier spawning on the battlefield could literally kill the whole enemy's air support within 3 minutes. Within 3 minutes of you spawning into the game, because of the AAs were so overpowered and they could reach all the way across the map, I literally tried this myself and I could go from spawning into the game and dropping on the E flag where nobody really challenges it too much, and I could reach more than half the map, and I could literally wreak havoc to the enemy's air support within a couple of minutes of me spawning in. Then I can just go about my business and then wait another 3, 4, 5 minutes for them to respawn again and do the same thing all over again. We had a lot of chatter and a lot of feedback was given for this in the Battlefield 1 Alpha. It gets to a point where if you're getting hit more than once or twice, it gets so bad with a screen shake that there's nothing for you to do to control that aircraft anymore and you will crash. Simply put, there should not be an instance where somebody could spawn into the game because you've killed him in your plane, go in, get into an AA and dominate the whole sky. Within 3 minutes there'd be nobody flying in the air just because you had one guy manning an AA. Not only that you have all the AAs throughout the map, but you also have mobile AAs that you need to destroy, and simply the jets, well not the jets, the planes were just simply not doing enough damage to them. They definitely need to be buffed, and then they definitely need to have a bigger splash damage to when you're engaging things on the ground. Now, what about the weather? Well, the weather, I didn't really mind that too much. I thought that's something that was pretty cool. I definitely would love to see what we had in St. Quentin Scar. I'd definitely love to see an icon so you know what kind of game you're getting yourself into. If it's going to be foggy, if it's going to be rainy, a little icon before you join the server would go a long way. As for the weather effects, I don't really have a problem with those. I think they're pretty cool because you will have people that will need to change their strategies. You'll need to sort of think differently. You'll need to play it differently. The only sort of problem I really have with that is that it just takes a bit too long. It's just 6 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it takes in a 20-minute long match. I think it's a bit too much for it, and maybe that should be something that they'll address. Now, what about the pickup classes, you know, the Sentry, the Elite classes? I think the Elite classes should do a little bit more damage, especially when it comes down to the Tank Hunter. The whole point of it is for you to hunt a tank, and I can't really do that if it's going to take me 8 fucking shots to take out a tank. You know, sure, I could be a long way away from him, but I simply just don't do enough damage, and hopefully that'll be something that they'll put into it while they give you a little bit more oomph to it, because I've been shooting planes down, I've been shooting all sorts of things down, and you're doing 4% damage, 8% damage. It's not enough for something called a Tank Hunter. While it does a lot of damage to sort of vehicles or anything like that, when it comes down to what it's supposed to be, which is a Tank Hunter, it just simply doesn't do enough damage. Another thing that you might have missed on the Battlefield 1 Alpha is the disappearing vehicle. Now, once you have a flag, your vehicles will spawn, you get into it, and you get yourself to the next objective. Simple as that. Capture the next flag, and then that's that. Well, if somebody actually caps the flag while you're driving that vehicle, your vehicle will simply disappear because you've lost the flag. How about the tanks? You know, everybody's been talking about how tanks are overpowered and need to be addressed, and some of the things need to be changed when it comes down to tanking. And I do agree some of the things need to be changed on tanks, but I personally don't think the tanks are overpowered, because it's just simply too easy to take them out, especially when it comes down to light tanks and things like that. There is a video linked in the description, so if you want to check that out, I've taken out 8 or 10 tanks in the space of 5 minutes with a few tips on how to take them out. But some of the things that I'd love to see when it comes down to the tanks, and I'd love to see the whole repair thing go away. There shouldn't be an instance where you could just simply sit in your tank and repair and move on. You need to get out and use your repair kit. By being forced to get out of your tank and repair, you will play the game differently. Things will play differently, because not only that you don't have the advantage of a tank anymore and you're no longer inside while you're repairing, you also have to think about the medics, you also have to think about the snipers with the long scopes. Anything can take you out, therefore giving you a little bit more of a chance to take out a tanker. Another thing that I had an issue with in the Battlefield 1 beta is the actual spawns. You know, while you die defending the flag, say you're defending the D flag or the B flag, you always end up spawning out in the open. Now, spawning out in the open, when you have 5-6 guys trying to take that flag, chances are I'm not going to make it very far, because I'll just end up dying because there is no cover whatsoever. I'd love to see those spawns changed up a little bit, so I don't just spawn out in the middle of nowhere, and within 5-10 seconds of me spawning back into the fight again to try and recapture that flag, I'd be dead all over again because I had nowhere to take cover. Another bug that you're currently aware of is you spawning in without a weapon. Many times I wanted to play infantry and I spawned in and behold, no weapon. So what am I going to do? Just go sit next to him? So you'd go around the map trying to sneak up your way into finding a fight where somebody dies, and then you pick up his weapon. The problem with that was, by picking up that weapon, you literally only picked up his primary weapon. You didn't pick up his pistol, you didn't get his meds or whatever he had, his gadgets or anything like that. So you'd be stuck with just having that one weapon for a while until you respawned, and hopefully you didn't spawn without a weapon anymore. Now, I do realize that this is an old build, what we played in the Battlefield 1 beta, and probably most of those little bugs and things like that would have been changed. I mean, I spawned many times and it was just a black screen. A lot of the times, why you wanted to sort of change your kits or anything like that, you couldn't do anything because you'd be stuck into sort of a loading screen. There was just all sorts of little issues and little bugs, but probably most of these would have been addressed and would have been changed by now. But really, what I want to see changed is the ones that are really going to affect how the gameplay is going to play, how things are going to play out. Those are the ones that really matter, not the little bug that you spawned in without a weapon. Sure, just respawn and you'll spawn back in with a weapon that time around. I want rush mode, I want conquest, I want the gameplay, I want everything to be fun again. And because Battlefield is split into two different sort of types of players now, you have the old players that have been here since sort of day one, and you have a lot of the new players that came in with the success of Battlefield 3. I mean, Battlefield 3 sold 15 million, 16 million copies, and that's one of the reasons why Battlefield has been getting more and more popular these days, just because of that. And hopefully it will be the game that I really want to play, and it's not going to be the next Battlefront where it's really shallow and you don't really want to play it for more than a couple hours and there's just not enough content, there's nothing for you to do in the game. So hopefully those things will change, and we'll just have to wait and see how this game's going to play out when it comes out on October the 21st, I think it comes out. There were a handful of other bugs in the game that are worth mentioning, such as the disappearing medic icon. When you're trying to revive somebody, that icon was not there. Now, that didn't really matter because you could still go and try and zap him with your syringe and revive him if you really wanted to, but that was never really the case because a lot of the medics never really bothered with a revive. But I do think that's a genuine bug out of the beta, and I don't think that's going to be an issue when it comes down to the full game. You will see the icon that somebody needs a revive. Hopefully some of this feedback will make it in before the game's going to get released in October. If I've missed anything, go ahead and just drop a comment down below, and hopefully it will get addressed. That's it for me for today. I will see you in the next one.